right, welcome everyone to this Clubhouse event. Your energy, your health, be responsible with empowering solutions. I would like to start by raising the vibration in this space that we're in now by calling for the highest possible vibration and calling for the truth to come forward into our discussion today so that we may see the truth in all that we see, so that we may hear the truth in all that we hear, so that we may speak the truth in all that we say. Shall we all be in that frequency of truth? Shall we have nothing less than the truth? Shall we call for the power divine feminine to bring balance back into our world, showing us the way through honor, respect, and gratitude? Shall we call for the power divine feminine to bring balance back into our world, showing us the way through honor, respect, and gratitude? Shall we call for the power divine feminine to bring balance back into our world, showing us the way through honor, respect, and gratitude? Shall we call for the highest possible vibration? Shall we call for the highest possible vibration? Shall we call for the highest possible vibration? I now ask that everyone take a sip of water and ask for the water to hydrate our brains and our bodies. Water is a medium that holds memory and will assist in the flow of the information that we share together here on Clubhouse. Now I ask that we take a deep breath in, bringing in peace, holding it, and release and exhale and let everything else out. Take another deep breath in, bringing in joy and gratitude, and hold it. And exhale out. And one more time, another deep breath in, bringing in life into our bodies. And exhale out, releasing all that does not serve us. And Lakesh and Veritas, everyone, I call for the oneness and truth of information shared by each and every one of us on this call, calling in that frequency of truth and all that is truth, with honor, respect, and gratitude to you all. For those who are unfamiliar with the term, the greeting in Lakish is the Mayan greeting for oneness, signifying unity, where everything and everyone are interconnected. It is the idea of community where we can share with one another ideas, goals, and aspirations. And veritas, the Latin word for truth, to see the truth in all things. So therefore, Enlakesh and Veritas is that declaration of oneness and truth, in which we are clearing our spaces, the space we're in now, that we may be able so that we may be able to have and bring forth a truthful, elevated, and enlightened discussion this evening, clearing away those ill thoughts that we tend to pick up and carry with us from our everyday life experiences. Remember, our words have power, so it is important that we use our words carefully, using words of upliftment, encouragement, and enlightenment. And by doing so as a collective will help us to transform our spaces and places into higher frequencies that will result in better experiences in our lives and assist in raising the vibration of those individuals who we meet. So in location, everyone with honor, respect, and gratitude. I would like for everyone to again hold your water in your hands and with intention in mind, send the frequency of Enlakesh to your water. And then take a sip of the water, thereby assisting the signaling and incorporating the elevated frequency of Enlakesh into the cellular structures of our body, matching that we are 70% water. Using this technique will assist in the ease and flow of the information being shared. And Lakesh and Veritas, everyone with honor, respect, and gratitude. All right. I want to start um, speaking on current events. I think that it's important that we learn what's going on, make sure that we're informed, we're well informed. And today I actually want to talk about responsibility. So I recently listened to a discussion on the Children's Health Defense titled Child Abuse. And I found it very interesting. They shared a story about a child who was at school and exhibited flu-like symptoms. So a rule was established in the district that was implemented that required that you isolate children who were sick from the remaining children in the school. Well, they had this 4-year-old child sit in a shed in the back of the school so when the mother came to pick this child up, this little boy, He was hypothermic, bluish, and could not speak. Then another story is that a mother placed her 13-year-old son in the trunk of her car because he was getting sick and she was afraid of him having the virus because he had exhibited flu-like symptoms, and brought him to the ER to be looked at. But he stuck him in the trunk of the car. So they've been instilling distorted views that children need to be a responsible party when it comes to the illness of adults, and therefore being vaccinated and held accountable for the welfare of adults, as though they themselves are adults. So, any thoughts behind that? We're responsible for these young people, these children. Have you also heard that they're trying to rephrase the definition, the redefine pedophilia? The new definition of having a like for children and decriminalizing the act. So I just feel people are kind of acting crazy. I don't know if it's what's going on, the virus, the vaccine. Parents and adults, as parents and adults, we're responsible to take care of our children, especially those who are minor, because they're dependent upon us. Any comments? This. Go ahead. Who's? Is there someone speaking? Anahara?
Yes, Invocation Veritas with honor, respect, and gratitude.
Application Veritas, honor, respect, and gratitude.
Well, I'm sorry. Would you please repeat what you said about the new rules about pedophilia? I mean, my ears heard something, and I don't think I heard what you said right.
It's having a liking for children. Lota's posted this too. She's posting a lot of stuff, but she talked about it in one of her self-healing classes as well. And I found it, doing research. They're trying to like decriminalize the act. You saw with Balenciaga and bringing out that doll, a kind of sadomasochist type of doll for children.
What?
Invocation Veritas with honor, respect, and gratitude.
Yes. Invocation Veritas, honor, respect, and gratitude, Stacey.
So it's when you asked the question of did anyone want to speak, I was just stuck for a minute because it was just like, what do I say really? Like, yes, it hits a nerve for me very
Yeah.
deeply for multiple reasons. But what really came to mind was the fact that they're conditioning our children to accept what is unacceptable. That's really the act that is happening. And it's multifolded because one is their way of taking our children's energy because they do not have the vitality for themselves, so they want to steal what is not theirs. Um, and even in terms of the school system policies and things of that nature, it just shows our fear. We commonly talk about if we're reflective enough within our teaching practices, if a child is acting up or acting out, it's because something the adult is doing. And many
Right.
of us are not reflective enough and taking some responsibility for what our actions are. And that's where the disconnect comes in. So seeing that fear is radiating throughout a school system, and then they send the children to these isolated spaces, what is that really teaching them? What is that showing about ourselves as adults, that we do not feel safe enough in our own health and our own mental state that we have to isolate a child? So it is just reflective on the mental state, the spiritual state of adults, and how so much more responsibility needs to be taken. So I think
Right.
those are my initial thoughts in making sure that I don't go into a state of rage of the outrage that it creates every time I think about it. But one last thing I want to speak on, um, going back to the conditioning of, sexuality for kids, and how it's emanating throughout a lot of the Disney movies and Disney shows and throughout clothes. I had a little rant a while ago about clothes. It's easy for me to find my son clothes that are loose fitted jeans. For my daughters, it's nothing but leggings. Why are my children wearing leggings when it's three degrees outside? Like, why can't they have warmth? Why can't they have comfort as well? So we know why, unfortunately. And we know that they are preying on our children, and it's disgusting. But we are capable of making the change, and that's the light that is there. But knowing the truth and seeing the truth and calling it out is part of our job, and I believe that we are stepping into it. So, in Lakesh and Veritas, with honor, respect, and
And
gratitude.
Lakesh and Veritas, honor, respect, and gratitude. Thank you, Stacy. I know we are responsible for it, but I don't know. I can't fathom, not the rationale that you would take a child and just stick them in a shed, away from the other kids in the cold, or how they have these uh changing the definition of pedophilia, or putting these little dolls, in front of children, and rationalizing it and sexualizing our children, because this is the formidable years. They say that, was it in the Jesuits thinking, in the first 7 years of their life, that's how you form a child's way of thinking. So it's our responsibility as parents and as the adults in a community to help support, the welfare of our children, the thought process, giving them a supportive, strong, supportive environment.
I just want to
You know.
say one more thing about it, and something that kind of came up that's related, but a little bit of a tangent. It just shows how they are preying on our children because it's easier to enslave them. And
Yeah.
again, that just shows how weak minded those persons are. And I was listening to a video, and it was speaking about how some of the works that are they're trying to put into play is brain mapping for infants and fetus and utero, and to make that all the infants are cognitively homogenous. So immediately it was just like, you want to enslave everyone. You really want to make it easy for you to control our children more than anything. So it's showing through and through in so many different ways and facets. But again, it takes the awareness of us knowing what's going on for us to
Right.
be able to impact the change. So the more
Right.
we speak on it, I think is the most important part. But to just continue to speak our truth about it and protect our children, and teach
Right.
them not to accept enslavement.
Right.
And
Right. And
for us,
that's what they're doing. They're accepting whatever is given to them, and we shouldn't be doing that. We should be speaking up.
absolutely, in the Cash and Veritas, with honor, respect, and gratitude.
Thank you, Stacy. With honor, respect, and gratitude. Thank you. All right.
And look at your Veritas on respect and gratitude, Delilah. I'd like to say something too.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Serenia. No Kishan Verita. Honor, respect, and gratitude.
I was thinking about, I'm speaking to the children, the events related to the children and the isolation and that. I just think back to, I know the place where I used to work. I know all of the schools have implemented the same thing in the last year and a half or two, where they isolate the children. They have a special room, where they isolate the children, keep them away from everyone else. And then
Mm-hmm.
they were shutting down the whole classroom, sending classrooms of children home if one person, of course, was positive, and they were testing all of the children in the hallway. I mean, it was, to me, it was reminiscent of like a jail type of
I know. I was thinking of hurting them.
yeah, and they were all standing in the halls, because I'm talking to people who still are there, and some of my
Mhm.
friends who are in the situation and work from a different perspective, and showing how, they were just treating, it was very dehumanizing. They're bringing people in from the outside, and then they have them lining up, and they're sharing their personal space with all these people, and they're having to do these things that normally are done in a private, kind of setting. And then
Right.
they give them codes. They give them the QR codes. That was one way of doing it. Give them the QR codes, and then send them home like in droves, right? Send the whole
Hmm.
classroom home in droves, and then I would see like children out at the store. I remember seeing children out at the store like paralyzed with fear, not wanting to be around another person, because they've been conditioned to believe that, it's dangerous to be
Hmm.
outside, it's dangerous to be close to other people. I mean, I literally saw two young ladies, like they were young girls, like under 10, like, hurry, mommy, let's go. We got to get out of here. So it's like training them to
Wow.
be enslaved, training them to be fearful.
Yeah.
So, we can stop it, like Stacey was saying and that you were saying, we can stop that. But that's what they're training them, in school to be like that. And it continues, at home as well. So,
It's
yeah, that's,
normalizing the whole situation for them because that's
yeah.
all they're gonna. I mean, they're seeing it at a young age, so and they're conditioning them to think that way. So it's up to us to rectify
Right.
that.
And it can be changed. I mean, it's, we
Yes,
just have to
absolutely.
be diligent about it and be persistent in letting them know that, we're not going to take that.
Right. And what they're doing is that they're saying, well, if you're sick, you're gonna take that to grandma and grandpa, and they're gonna die. I mean and that's like very impressionable in a small child. you know.
It speaks so much to the idea of fear. Like remember being in the school system and seeing my own darkness and seeing my own fear and how it played out into that very scenario that was described by Serenia. Again, us taking responsibility, me taking responsibility and seeing how my thinking wasn't correct and seeing how my thinking was influenced by fear and how it just allowed for just as what was being described to continue to occur. So I remember once I finally started to identify, like, okay, you're acting out of fear. It was times
Mhm.
that, students were supposed to go for their testing, and it was just like, do you feel comfortable? Do you want to go? And, if they didn't want to, I was just like, well, you could just stay here. Like, it's that simple. Like, I recall them going in the hallway, and you have to walk through the hallway, and they're just spitting into these tubes. And it's just like, one, it's disgusting because it's just spit
Oh wow.
everywhere,
Uh-huh.
but it's also just as was stated, it is prison like because they're all kind of turned into these spaces, spitting into a tube, and then they go about their day, and it's just like, this doesn't seem right. Like this is
Right.
not right, and we know it's not right. So again, for us to see our fear and see our own darkness and release it and correct it is definitely a first start. And so glad to be able to see past it and see how I contributed to it to help rectify how I contributed to it. So
Yeah.
thank you, Serena, for bringing that forward.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
Mm,
Thank you for
yeah.
your comments. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and if it were, we're thinking that it's over. And thank you, Stacey. We're thinking that it's over, because they're pulling back the mandates, but they're still. I'm getting information that they're still trying to incentivize the children to get the shots by promising them trips to Great Americas and all of these other places, pizza parties and all kind of stuff. And they're still trying to do this to the children. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we
Yeah.
really need to, like put up a stink about it, put up a fight, and fight for these babies because
Right.
we need to clear the spaces,
Right.
and then we need
Absolutely.
to really say something, because
Right.
it's not going to change unless we change it.
Yeah, we definitely have to say something and spread the news and inform the community because it just seems that quite a bit of people are ignorant to it. And what you were saying with regards to supposedly it's a positive news. Mayor Adams in New York lifted the COVID vaccine mandates for New York City workers. So I mean that's a positive shift. So the New York City workers no longer require the COVID vaccine to be employed by New York City. But the city workers now have to reapply for their jobs, but the jury is out whether they can return back to their same status where they left off with all the seniority, the years that they put in. they may not be able to get that. They're trying to fight that so that they can reclaim those years that they put in, because they were forced to leave, and it wasn't that they left voluntarily. But also too, Los Angeles relaxes their employee COVID vaccine rules and approving all request exemptions. And then Seattle has also recently ended their mandates. So it's slowly happening where they're rescinding, they're clearing, but it's just almost like housekeeping. There's other stuff that needs to be done, and we can't just sit back. Now, with regards to New York, who's at Governor Hochul, she still is out trying to push that those was it vaccine, those camps, what do you call them, what type of camps, anyone want?
Those are, yeah, containment camps.
Containment camps, yeah.
Hmm.
And they still, so that's still out trying to push that, but it's just ridiculous. It was already thrown out, and then it's almost like it was snuck back in, and they went ahead, and there's an attorney that is keeping an eye on this and always pushes back to say this is just ridiculous.
Well, you know what? I would like to make a recommendation, if I may, to people on the line, especially if you have children or grandchildren or whatever, and their children are in the school system. I know, based on information I'm receiving, that the states, no matter what they're saying, they're working to change the requirements still to put it on the forms, to make it part of the vaccination a requirement. And because I know the state where I used to work is still working on that, no matter where they rescinded the mandate or not. They're changing the examination forms to add it to there. And so we need to be diligent in paying attention to that. Check with your state to see what they've done with that. You can go online to the state where you're, for the health exam, for the state, wherever you are, and you can check to see what the requirements are, because they are working to change it. If they haven't done it, they're working to change it in the next month or two, because I can tell you that's what they're working on where I used
Which
to be.
which is to accept the exemptions now?
No,
What is
to
it?
add it to the form, to add the COVID, the jab as
Mm.
as having on the form, or to change the form from what it used to be.
Oh, as a requirement, but then that's putting it back into.
Right. So I'm saying people pay attention to that because it's something that they're working on. They're saying they're rescinding it, but they're changing the forms.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So just keep an eye on it. You can check with your state, you can go as public knowledge. You can
Mm-hmm.
check for the state, and if it's not this month, in the next couple months, something should be coming down
Mm-hmm.
the line. Just go onto the site, to the site for the state, and look for what health requirements, health examination, and immunization requirements, and it'll tell you what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay,
That.
so everyone, I recommend you check that out, and if that is the case, you notice a change, because they're readying themselves for the next thing that they're planning to do. So, you can inform other people,
Mm.
other parents, and that, and you can write to your legislators or whatever you want to do to change that, so that make people aware, because people don't
Right.
know.
Yeah, you're right. People don't know.
Yeah.
No. That's why it's important for us to have discussions with our family and friends. And sometimes you're going to get pushback. Yes. But like it was discussed on the prior Clubhouse, how some of them are becoming more aware and asking, how come you didn't inform us even more, and so forth. And at this point, we can't say, well, I told you so, but to basically be compassionate about it, without having that compassionate connection, in order for us to be strong and move forward and be available for those who are ready to listen. I agree.
And
Go ahead. Go ahead, Stacy. I'm sorry.
no, my apologies. I wanted to add on to part of what Serena was saying. So I saw an article, and I'm going to read more into it, but just really for us to keep an eye out for the legislation that is coming out. I believe there was a proposal for within Maryland that children would not need the consent of their parents to get any shots or jabs.
Yeah, they were trying to
So
pass that before, and they're still trying to pass it now. They were trying to slip that in, like a couple months ago.
yeah, so I think it's still from that time period,
Oh,
but the fact that that is out there and that is alone is just outrageous. The fact that that overstepping of boundaries and rights to
hmm
influence children, it's we just see it playing out in so many different ways. So that call to and suggestion to stay vigilant is so important more than ever.
hmm hmm
Well, can I say one more thing I added on to? I don't
Yeah.
want to, monopolize the conversation or anything, and I don't want to belabor this, but there are some things that came to my attention. This is a job I used to do. I was a school nurse, for 13 years. And so I didn't even know. Every state, of course, has its own jurisdiction as far as what the laws are going to be. So they decide what is required, what is not required, what's recommended on those forms, right? So what I found out in many of the states, that was already the case with what Stacy's saying. In many of the states, there's a law. There are laws that say that they do not need the consent of the parents for some jabs and stuff, especially as it relates to like HPV and some of the others, that the children can do it on their own. And I know they were doing it in DC as well as Maryland and some West Coast states. So I would again check to see what the requirements are in your state. Check to see what the legislation is around what they can do without your consent, because they were doing it in California as well. I think in Oregon or Washington
hmm
State they were doing some craziness. I think in Maine. I know in New
hmm
York they changed the requirements. They have gotten rid of exemptions where parents, that means where you can opt out of shots. You can't
hmm
opt out of them in Washington State anymore either. In parts of California, they were trying to do it. And this is a doctor in California who's a pediatrician who's trying to stop parents from making a choice. And so I'm saying this has happened right before our eyes, and we in plain sight, and we didn't even see it. So it's never too late to change it, but we need to
Right.
be aware that it's already going.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that I mean, if people, a lot of people just focus on mainstream media, and this information is not found in mainstream media. You've got to go deeper. That's why it's important for us to have conversations with family and friends to make them aware, even to say verify it. Go on Google it. We've got these engines, these search engines where we can Google it. We've got all these multiple platforms we can get other sides of stories, information to become more educated, you know. And you will have the naysayers saying that, oh, it's misinformation, but how much misinformation is out there when multiple people are saying the same thing, and hopefully they'll start to see, and evaluate the truth and even see for themselves in their lives what's happening to the people in their lives, their families and their friends. Any other comments? I'm glad we had this discussion so that we can know what's going on and figure out and do our part to inform people. Community is the way to go. Try and inform each other. And that's why becoming more sovereign, helping ourselves. I encourage everyone to consider joining the Gloria Gardens. It's affordable annual subscription through Of the Sun. Interested in growing your own food? Because at some point there's going to be some sort of a shortage because everyone talks about it. If you look through the social media and mainstream media, they're hinting to us. But at least with this, we're trying to do something. With this subscription, they provide tips on how to grow microgreens, sprouts, sharing insights on the consciousness of the food and the land, providing tools and tips on growing our food from a spiritual angle. So just go on ofthesun.com for more information regarding the membership. They had a wonderful newsletter that was just recently released last week. I also want to inform everyone who's here, if you're in the Atlanta area, a book club is scheduled this coming Saturday. Well, the Saturday, February 18th, not this Saturday, but the following after that. Following Saturday after that, from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, hosted by Riverwell Chiropractic in conjunction with Enlica Studios. And we will be having a discussion on the Call for Truth publication written by Lota Rasul. And get this, Lota is going to be in attendance as a special guest. Very, very exciting. We plan to record the event also for those who aren't able to make it so they could actually see the discussion that's made. So, Diane, are you there? Do you have any more information regarding this event? So, looking for more information on the event, just join looking at our websites, enlicastudio1.com, enlicastudio2.com, and enlicastudio4.com. Enlica Studios. You can do it on the YouTube. Diane, you're there now? I can hear. Can you hear me?
Yes, in Lakesh and Veritas with honor, respect, and gratitude.
And Lakeisha Veritas, honor, respect, and gratitude. I apologize. I probably spurred that on the moment. I wasn't sure.
No worries. There's an Eventbrite event that you can sign up for if you'd like some information as to where Riverwell Chiropractic is, and you can sign up. It's if you search Eventbrite, it's called a Wellness Book Club in Lawrenceville. We'll be putting it on our website soon. It just came out yesterday or today, so it's a free event, and it'll be very exciting to
Mm-hmm.
have Lauta there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so please look out for, postings. We'll send out notifications and so forth and on
Hmm.
our site. And don't forget the Divine Nation workshops. The next one will be scheduled on Friday the 17th, the day before, at 8 p.m. Working with the Call for Truth divination deck. The companion to the Call for Truth publication, also created by Lauta Rasul. Completely free and a lot of fun. I encourage you to join the next event. It's hosted by Diane as well. And, there may be some surprising new things. We're trying to explore new approaches in doing this event. So keep you posted on that. And then last Sunday, we had our monthly Divine Feminine Clubhouse, which I felt was very successful. It's a space where we're getting together, sharing, networking, and collaborating. And the purpose is to provide a flat platform for those who are participating so that we can share our gifts and talents with one another, to help one another with the ideas as a community, to get our ideas and goals off the ground, but who sometimes you just don't know what to do and how to do it. Somebody else may be able to know how to do it. And there was some collaborations that occurred for that particular event as well. Each time we meet, it's a way to help one another. So I encourage you to join. Our next one is going to be the first. I'm trying to work them out and schedule them the first Sunday of every month. So I think the next one is March 5th, Sunday, March 5th. I hope I got that date right. Yeah. Yes. Sunday, March 5th. Any other comments? I also want to remind everyone of our whole responsibility meditations. That's scheduled Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays of every week. Several option times are available. Just join us, all on Eastern Standard Time, scheduled on Eastern Standard Time. You can find information on our websites, Enlica Studios, EnlicaStudio1.com, EnlicaStudio2.com, and EnlicaStudio4.com. It's a great way to and a great tool to help pop you out of low vibrational state to a higher frequency. The dedication of this practice of responsibility, doing Ho'oponopono, will help you to see positive changes in your life when you work it. And the Zoom link, the link that's sent out for notifications is always the same. It doesn't change. So it makes it easier for you to just join. Does anybody else have any comments? Next week, we'll give you some follow-up on our farming. You know, I'm a city person, so this is new to me, but it is exciting. So learning about fertilizing the land, tilling it, working it. All right. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Remember, knowledge is power, and taking action with this knowledge is true power. With honor, respect, and gratitude, and Lakesh and Veritas, everyone.
In Lakesh and Veritas, honor, respect, and gratitude.
In Veritas, on respect and gratitude.